Welcome to NEXTGames Unity series. This video covering how to defeat the Sovereign Behemoth Solo. In this video, I'll give an overview of the Sovereign Behemoth battle strategy, and then give a battle example of the fight against him. As usual, we'll do all of this on the ninja job with the warrior sub job, but using the strategy I give here, many jobs should be able to use this strategy. Now, the Sovereign Behemoth is a warrior with a thief sub job. He has a fairly high rate of double attack, and has fairly high evasion, so you're going to need around 1450 accuracy in order to take him on and reliably attack this fight. He possesses and stun with his attacks, and it has a fairly high proc rate, so make sure you keep your shadows up at all times. Now he will start casting Meteor just a few seconds after he spawns, and will continue to cast it every 30 to 40 seconds after that. Now Meteor will often hit everyone within 30 feet for upwards of 1500 damage, so make sure you keep this in mind when it comes to your trust selection. Now if his target is in front of him, he's going to use the following abilities. The first being Howl. Now this gives him a very large attack and magic attack boost. It can also make Meteor do upwards of 2500 damage, so after he uses this, definitely use caution on that next Meteor. Now Shockwave is the next ability he can use, and it is a conal based attack and knockback attack that will ignore your shadows entirely. The third ability you'll see is Wild Horn, and that is a conal critical damage ability and will remove 2 to 3 of your shadows. Now if his target is behind him, he's going to use two different abilities as opposed to those first three. The first is Dust Storm, which is a AoE damage and blind ability that will remove 2 to 3 shadows, and the second is Kick Out, which is a conal critical damage ability that will remove 2 to 3 shadows. Now in addition to those abilities, he can use the following two abilities at any time. The first is Flame Armor, which will grant him a Blaze Spikes effects. Now this is not very potent, so you really don't have to worry too much about it. And Thunderbolt, which is an AoE damage and stun ability that will remove your shadows and is definitely his most dangerous ability, as it will leave you and your party entirely vulnerable for about 10 seconds. Now as he deals damage to you and your party, his damage resistance will quickly rise, eventually capping at a 95% reduction. Now once resistance starts to build, it's going to be very difficult to deal any meaningful damage, and you will be unable to finish the kill in time unless that resistance is removed. Now there are two ways that I have found to take on this fight, and I have found one of these methods more reliable than the other one, so that's the one that I'm going to recommend. Now the first way to remove the resistance, and the method that many use but I find less reliable, is to do a skill chain for over 10,000 damage while he is casting Meteor. If you do this, it can cause a proc, which will cause the resistance to be reset for him, and for him to take increased damage for about 30 seconds. Now this method can work well if you do proc, but proccing is not guaranteed even if you do skill chain for over 10,000 damage, meaning that Meteor is going to land, and you and your trust are going to eat it, significantly increasing his magic resistance and making the possibility of skill chaining on the next Meteor casting even more difficult. It's also possible that he can reset his resistance using Howl, but when using this method, I have found that he very infrequently uses it. In over 10 runs, I never even saw him use it once when I was tanking him from in front and using this strategy. These inconsistencies in my run are what led me to develop my second strategy, which I have found to be much more reliable. Now the second method, and the one that I recommend you use, involves a very simple tactic: running. You know, Meteor has a very lengthy casting time, so long that if you turn around and start running away from King Behemoth, the instant you see it in the log, you can make it out of range in time without issue, and neither you or any of your trust will be hit with any damage. You then will have just enough time to run back in, re-engage, and get 2 to 3 weapon skills in before his next Meteor, in which case you just run out of range again. Now the added benefit of this is I've noticed it will often trigger him to use Howl as his TP move after almost every Meteor. This uses up his TP and clears any resistance he has built up. Now the main risk with both of these strategies is dying to a Thunderbolt and the 10-second stun that follows it. The second strategy has a common secondary benefit, and that is it causes the Behemoth to use Thunderbolt at range while you're re-engaging him. This makes it easier to live through, as it usually takes the Behemoth 3 to 4 seconds to then get up to you and actually start attacking you because he used it at range. So there are multiple benefits I've found to using this second strategy. In regards to trust selection, now with this particular strategy, trust selection isn't as important as we're not expecting them to be taking Meteors. but you still want to plan for them to have as high hit points as possible, just in case you happen to eat one. In my case, I'm using Kotata for an attack boost, Joachim for marches, Arcelia for haste, her higher hit points, and her ability to do an AoE cure, Yoran Oran for cure, and Monboro for cure. However, pretty much any trust that can help cure you and keep you haste capped is going to be useful in this fight if you're using the second strategy. The last note I'll make is in regards to positioning. Be sure to try and fight opposite your trust, since there are so many conal attacks with this NM. So if they are in front, go to the back and fight. If they are in the back of the NM, go to the front. And remember, since you're going to be running away from him so often, you're going to need to redo this positioning every time you re-engage. Okay, let's go ahead and see what a battle example looks like. Enjoy the run, everybody. That's going to bring an end to my video on how to solo the Sovereign Behemoth. I hope you found that helpful. Over these next 5 weeks, I'll be releasing continual videos showing how to beat the next 5 bosses of Unity on our build-up to defeating the Tumult Curator in a party setup. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Stay safe and stay healthy.